Hi guys, how's my soul family doing? I hope y'all are well. Um, my little boy, he's 8. His name's Chase. If y'all aren't already familiar with him, he just finished his second week of soccer camp for the summer, and that'll be it till fall season when he has his regular season. So he was. I think we were all ready to be done with that. Hot, hot days in the sun. Um, but anyway, for today's message, I wanted to talk about a really, really large, one of the biggest crux of, um, one of the biggest lessons that you can learn when you're going through a spiritual awakening and when you are developing your spiritual strength, and that is learning to overcome fear. Easier said than done, right? We've all been there. We've all done our thing with, living out our fears, living out our, whether it's living them out or it's thinking them out. Either way, it's still fear is a very real thing to those that experience it, even though fear ultimately in non-duality is not real. There's only love. But that's something that one can't understand when they are still living in a lot of fear. And so while I was waiting for Chase to complete his last soccer his soccer thing, um, I I was reading from this book, Living Fearlessly, by oh gosh, I can never say his name. Yogananda. Well, his last name's Yogananda. Living Fearlessly. It's a tiny little book, and I keep it in my purse because when I'm bored or when I'm, waiting for Chase to, like today, I was waiting for him to complete the soccer stuff. And that's what I did is I got out my book and I started reading it. And it's so cool how it kind of ties into what I've really been learning a lot about lately is um, living fearlessly, living free of fear, which that's really, it's not impossible because we've seen people in ascended masters like Jesus do it and all the big spiritual leaders. Um, but for a large extent, if we can make it into a spiritual practice and be ever conscious of when we are diving into fear versus like really um, delving up into the higher realms where there is only love, there is only um, abundance, like where we have an abundance consciousness, where we have, um, and abundance just doesn't just mean money. It means like an abundance of community, abundance, being connected to all the people that you're meant to be connected with, having all the resources you need to do your mission while you're here on earth. So it embodies everything. So what I'm going to read to you, which is what I was reading the last 15 minutes before his practice ended, was and it's not I don't know, it's page 66. I don't think there's a chapter, but anyway, it's the title of it's called Fearlessness Means Faith in God. And my notes say freedom from fear, fear is the matrix control. And that really is the truth. That is the crux of like what the matrix holds onto and feeds off of is the fear of the people and the fear of losing control of, they want us to, I don't know if I'm going to overstep my boundaries here by saying some of this stuff, but they want us to be controlled. They want us to be robots. They want us, and by they, you just have to do your own research on that. I am not going to go into that. That is a whole nother thing in and of itself, and I am not going to go into it. So some of this stuff that I say, just realize that it's on, you have to do your research. But by they, I mean they want complete control. Say, okay, so for an example, there's different wings of the same bird. Well, technically there's two wings, of course, but and which is a good analogy for some of what we've been going through for the past few years with our political stuff, but there's different legs. Maybe an octopus is a good example. Like there's different legs to an octopus. But at the end of the day, the middle of the octopus is where all of the control and manipulation and where the mastermind of all of that stuff works. So the legs go out, into the different energy systems, and they feed off of the fear of the people, the fear of, the system, the Matrix. If you haven't seen the Matrix movie, please go and watch that. That is like the ultimate movie and they've got more than one Matrix video. I think if they've got like 3 or 4. I don't know if I watched the latest one yet, but the first one's really good because it kind of opens your eyes to how asleep we can be, in our lives, and how we think and how programmed we are. We're like computers. We're programmed, we're programmed. And so it's really, fear is the number one way. It is the underlying number one way that we are ultimately programmed, to where if they can instill enough fear in us, they can control us, they can make us do what we feel like we have to do. They can inject things. I mean, it's just, it's ludicrous. Like, the amount of control that we don't even realize is what's going on. And I'm not trying to place fear in anybody. I'm trying to just bring awareness. And if you don't resonate with this message, I'm okay with that. Like, I don't think everybody will, and that's fine. Like, but at the end of the day, what I want to say to that is that you shouldn't always trust when you have a lot of power and the big guns, so to speak. You should always question everything and think on your own 2 feet about what's going on behind the scenes. And when you have a lot of power in one's hands, it is easy to be manipulated, to allow the powers that be to bully you because you have all these perks or whatever. I don't know. You get the gist of what I'm saying. I'm not saying that correctly, but you get the gist of what I'm saying. So always question everything, and don't trust everything, and especially with all the propaganda and with all of the stuff going on around the world. Yes, it's real in a sense, because it is happening, but you have to question, why is it happening? Who's at play here? What's going on? Anyway, back to my main message. Fearlessness means faith in God. Freedom from fear. And then, okay, so these are my notes. Freedom from fear. Fear is a matrix control. Fear robs man of the indomitability of his soul. It strips you of your own sense of standing in your truth, standing in your power, your sovereignty. I always use that word in a lot of my videos, your sovereignty. It strips you of that. Disrupting nature's harmonious workings emanating from the source of divine power within. Fear causes physical, mental, and spiritual disturbances. Fear ties the mind and heart, feeling, to the external man, causing the consciousness to be identified with mental or physical nervousness, thus keeping the soul concentrated on the ego. So it's not able to focus on spirit. the real source of power, which is here. It's focused on the ego, which is all about fear and domination and all the negative aspects of being in a human body and experiencing the human experience. That's the ego. So when you start to rise above that, you start to face fear. You start to see fear for what it is. And I still have a long ways to go in that. I still have a lot of fear in me, definitely with different aspects of my life, some more than others. But I am slowly breaking out of the prison, and you guys can too. That's my message, is that you guys can too. You can break out of that prison. You know, we don't have to live in fear. And the number one thing to remember, as I say in most of all of my videos, I feel like, is that we are we are God's source. Like, we have a lot more power than we realize. Our minds are fucking, oh my God, so powerful. And so if we just really stepped into that, we would realize how we can create our worlds and how we can step into out of victim mentality and into God realization, you know, that we return to who we were before we fell. In other words, before we fell into the lower dimensions of ego consciousness and all of the negative energies that we deal with on a daily basis, in this incarnation, in other words. So, I feel like Spirit's taking over. I'm trying to read through this, and I keep digressing. That's how it works, right? Sometimes. So, I think, you know what? I feel like that might be it. I mean, I feel like the message is almost complete. I was going to read some more, but I really honestly think, because it digresses into sub chapters, you know what I mean. So I think that is complete for today. And I want you to take away from this video is that fear is the ultimate problem. Fear, and I'm speaking to the choir, I'm speaking to myself when I say that, because it is the number one thing that keeps us from love, from unity consciousness, from the one, from living a life that has little to zero fear. And that is that's a tall order for us, I think, for most of us still at this point. I know for me it is. I still have a long ways to go, but I am moving in that direction, and it excites me because I'm like, okay, I'm getting there slowly but surely. If I just keep working at it, if I keep stepping out of my comfort zone one step at a time, even if it's just very, very small steps at a time, but mostly it's my spiritual practice and really staying aligned with who I really am and not allowing distractions to overtake me like they have in the past. And by distractions, I mean just things in my life that I knew didn't feed my soul and weren't aligned with who I knew I was, who I am, and who I was becoming. I know that's kind of not very clarifying on a concrete level, but anyway, I mean, I just have to, sometimes I like to keep the particulars to myself. But what I'm trying to say is, you know, the fear thing is, that's where cutting off the news, or, you know, cutting off the TV, even movies and video games, and all of that programs you. all of that goes into your mind subconsciously. You have to be very diligent or vigilant about what you watch, what you listen to, and also what you put in your body. And I am nowhere near perfect in that department. I like my wine. But we have to be very diligent about how we evolve. That's the word I'm looking for. How we evolve in life. And we are all evolving, whether we like it or not. The energies at this time, there's no choice. We have to evolve. So learning to deal with fear is our number one lesson in this incarnation for most of us, or at least people listening to this video. If you've come this far in this video, you're a light worker and you came here to head on or to deal with fear head on. So I hope this video helped. And if you want to reach out to me, I'm at rachelkdonna1111@gmail.com. And you can always email me about anything that you want to talk about. It does not have to be about spiritual awakening. It can just be about things that you know that you need to talk about. And I've got a fly. Anything that you want to talk about. I mean, it's better to get it out of your system, let it loose, than to bury it or numb it or what, you know. Anyway, I love you guys. I hope this message, so work on that fear. Work on that fear. This is a good little book that I keep in my purse, Living Fearlessly by Yogananda, and I would suggest it to you. It wasn't that expensive. It was like $7 or $8. But I keep it in my purse when I'm out and I'm having to wait on something and I get bored and I just pull it out. Anyway, love you guys so much. Hugs, love, blessings, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.